And what we're going to do now is just have a bit of question time. Hopefully you've had some really inspirational presentations. We want to keep questions, we want to have as many as possible. So if you've got a question, please put your hand up. If you do want to ask a question, please state who you are, where you're from, and keep your question as concise as possible. There is a roving mic, and if you put your hand up, it will be passed to you forthwith. Here we go.
Thank you. I'm Alex Smith from CBC Journal, and I'm looking at it from a services perspective. How much of a challenge is it to apply circular to building services, so the boilers, the air conditioning, the pipework? It's kind of like 40% of the building. How much of a challenge is that going to be?
I think Gilly wants that one. Atta, if you could pass that down, that'd be brilliant.
I can give it a go. Not that I'm a services expert. I think actually the services area is really ripe for the whole sort of product, like servitization element of circular economy. So I think there are already some examples of it, in terms of things like the lifts as a service. I think I've also heard of one recently that's about the fresh air as a service. So you can see that can just extend, and obviously lighting as a service, that one's been around for quite a few years. So I think in terms of where the whole services area, I would have thought that's probably one of the key areas to explore. There may be other opportunities in terms of making them more adaptable, designing for further reuse, but actually if that was then encompassed within a sort of more of a services type agreement, that would make perfect sense, the ability to upgrade and take things out, to refurbish, remanufacture, etc.
I think just in addition to that, and as somebody who goes and sees some of the circular economy activities that are going on around the sector, it's not always, it doesn't have to be about services. There's some really interesting design aspects, and I went and saw a really interesting project about 6 months ago where one of the water companies, Anglian, were actually designing their infrastructure so that it could be maintained. And they actually got the architects, the constructors, and the facilities management people in the same team and did a joint design activity, and that led to a completely radically different design to how they'd always established this piece of infrastructure. So I think that collaboration between all of the professionals in the chain could be very, very beneficial.
Yeah, I would like to add something on it. And there's a lot of services and buildings already, and we're at the brink at financing some very interesting services, like facade as a service, which will be ready within 3 months, and roofs like a service with solar panels. And many of the finance mechanisms in these products as a service are actually kind of invited here in the UK. I mean, I've been working for Royal Balm Group for a few years in London on PFI projects, private finance initiatives. I don't know if you really like to hear it, but there's no handover at the end. But there's a lot of service in it. And the mechanisms in it might be used, possibly be used, for service contracts as well.
Anybody else on the panel want to answer that? Any questions while we're passing the microphone along?
Yeah, I think with regards to the sort of servitization, that we are ripe for change, and we don't know a lot of what those challenges will be until we just begin to do it for ourselves. So I think that's what we need to begin to do. We need a space to do that in. So.
Okay, thank you. Right, questions from the audience. Oh, the chair's going to have to step in, isn't he? I promise not to ask any challenging questions. But I'm going to ask the audience a question first, with your hands. We've seen some really strong visions of the future in a circular city. Could all of you put your hands up if you think that we are currently well equipped enough to be able to deliver a circular city in the UK? Right. Panelists, would you like to address that? How can we take 100% negativity towards the fact that we can deliver a circular city in the UK? What do you think needs to change?
I disagree. I think we are well placed. I think we have all the tools to change at hand. we don't need to sort of outsource everything. We have examples of what's going on from of successes from the likes of the ABN AMRO building. You know, we have international examples, but we don't have in Scotland. We don't have as many domestic examples as I'd like. But I think we definitely have the tools at hand. Yeah, I don't know what.
I think Anna wants to answer as well. Come this way.
I suppose what we haven't talked about to a certain extent is the kind of systemic change that's needed, and kind of what we talk about now is maybe slightly nibbling around the edges of what is needed as a kind of a fundamental shift around each and every one of our business models, how we operate. Currently we're all designers design because they want to get as many buildings to design. Clients want to kind of have as much investment, and so they want to make as much money using a linear economy. And so I suppose what we all need to do in terms of the businesses that we're operating within is start to transition on a bit of a journey to rethink how our businesses are operating within kind of the system that we work within. And of course the system also needs to change. So I think everyone has a part to play, and we need to start to turn that tanker around. And we're starting to see some of those players. I think we saw images. Some of those players are starting to come